Welcome back, Shalloners. Well, today you guys voted on this topic on my Instagram. We're going to talk about Kourtney getting back together with Eunice. And I know what you're going to say. Shallon, you have talked about exes so many times. I know, girl. That's because y'all keep asking about it. Exes are like the mosquitoes of our lives, but a mosquito that we like desperately want to trap and make our pet and love us back. You know, I'll stop talking about exes when we all stop being so twisted over them. Like, it's a lot. So today we're going to break down what is really going on between Kourtney and Eunice, what their dynamic is based on. And I'm going to tell you the A+++ lister who she's actually hooking up with. This is going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. But first, I just want to remind you that if you have a love question of your own, find me on the Instant Go app. My username is ShallonXO and click chat to get connected. Also, like I said, follow me on Instagram where I let you guys vote on the next video topic. My username is ShallonXO, and listen to my podcast, Girl on Top, out every Wednesday where I answer the best questions you guys submitted to me over the course of the week. So Kourtney was spotted out and about with Eunice in LA. They went to lunch. They went to an art gallery. Fun. I don't know. I love ancient art and Renaissance art. Modern art, I'm like, what is this? Don't put yourself in the same category as like Brunelleschi. Come on. That's not what we're here to talk about. That's a whole separate tangent. I want to talk about Kourtney and Eunice potentially getting back together because they were holding hands. And we know that holding hands is like the most intimate gesture of all. Getting drunk and having sex doesn't always mean that much. You're holding hands in public with someone. Like picture your boyfriend holding hands with another girl. Isn't it? It's revolting, right? So to me, this kind of tells me that, yo, things might be back on for real. But we got to go back to the beginning of their relationship to kind of unpack this dynamic. They met during Paris Fashion Week, the same Paris Fashion Week where Kim was robbed at gunpoint. It was some October 2017. So sad that I know this thing. The saddest. But he and Kourtney were like at a club with like her sisters. Kim obviously wasn't there. She's getting kidnapped. And Kourtney was like, he was so instrumental in helping me get through this because we were in France. He's French Algerian, so he speaks French. And he was able to like liaise with the police and translate everything. And it was just, she's like, I don't know what we would have done without him. That's an example of trauma bonding. You know, you bond with people so much more in a stressful situation. That's why when we make friends at camp, they're like friends for life or friends studying abroad. My best friend studying abroad officiated my wedding. Like you make them for life. And stress isn't always bad stress. You know, it can be good stress, it can be an intense environment, but you definitely bond with people more that way. And I think that for sure happened with her and Eunice. I mean, he's also like young. He's like 14 years younger than her. She's 40 now. He's 26 now. So doesn't hurt that he's like a model and was he like a boxer also? So that also is helping along the bonding process. But yeah, you see this like very manly, commanding side of a guy. Hello, not too shabby. But they were together, I think maybe a year. Anyway, they split up a year ago. And so seeing them out and about, it's like, So I'm going to tell you in a minute about whether or not these two have an honest shot of getting back together. But first, do you want to know who she's really hooking up with? This is wild. Brad Pitt. She's hooking up with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is the classic like daddy, obviously. Even though like, I was never like a Brad Pitt. I think I'm just a little like, I'm too young for like the Brad Pitt wave. He was always such like a grown up. Do you know what I mean? And if you know anything about my videos, like him young. So I was just like, yeah, I mean, he's attractive because the whole world has told me he's attractive. Although in Legends of the Fall, Tristan, I was never the same after that. Never the same after Tristan. And seeing him as Achilles in Troy, a movie that was like incredibly impactful. I know more about the Trojan War than I know about almost anything. That's also sad. Except for maybe the Kardashians' timeline of their traumas. So yeah, he's hooking up with Kourtney. He's also had a lot of like work done on his face. And I've done videos or a video before on him and Angelina and like why Angie stole him away. He loves a fiery bitch. He loves a fiery bitch. And you know what? A lot of guys do. He likes just a little dash of crazy. But like, I think Kourtney is just the right amount. Like they're both very family oriented, but they're both like, you know, kind of artistic. Brad's very into like architecture and Kourtney like is too. So I think they bonded a lot and they met, or their date was to Kanye West like Sunday service church thing. So wild. I mean, good for one of the Kardashians for breaking into like that realm of like real Hollywood hookups, you know? I would see Rob Kardashian like smash Julia Roberts, you know? Oh, does this say happy fall, y'all? Like the most basic bitch on planet Earth? Cheers, my fellow white women. So let's talk more about Kourtney and Eunice. So yeah, like I said, we talk about exes a lot on here, but that's because so many of us are always thinking about our exes. Like the number one thing women fantasize about is an ex, which I thought was wild. Like I remember reading that and I was like, ew, really? And then it's like, well, I mean, maybe sorta, you know, unless it's like a celebrity. Tell me what you guys fantasize about, like when you're all alone. I'm really interested to hear. Not like in too much detail. Don't need a whole narrative with rising and falling action, a plot arc. I'm okay. But one thing I've realized is like everyone we date is a correction from the previous person, you know, and in a way, our current partner is always sort of paying for the sins of the person who came before them. You know, they're always sort of fighting the ghost of the ex. And who is Kourtney's ex? Scott Disick. I love Scott. I think he's funny. He's great to watch. He's entertaining. He'd be super fun in your guy friend group. Would you want to have 3 fucking kids with this dude? No. Me either. And this to me is a very like, we could do a whole separate video about them where it's like, it works for Kourtney because they have literally so much money. They can kind of like outsource and deal with any problem. But there's something to be said for having children with a man who does not want them. Like I remember she'd be like, I'm pregnant. He's like, you want to have birth control? That shit's not cute. That's not okay. That's such a violation of the other person. And like, why do you want to have a father for your children who kind of doesn't want to be there? And I think Scott's like risen to the occasion. He seems like a good dad and like really involved, but I guess, maybe not. But he seems like fun. I don't know. But like, here's the thing. My self-esteem, Kourtney, is actually maybe a little higher than yours because I think I deserve a partner who's completely plugged in, who wants kids maybe more than me. They're leading the conversation. They're leading the charge in terms of forming this family structure. You're not like dragging them like a dead ass weight around for the rest of your life. And obviously, Scott has commitment issues. He has substance abuse issues. He has impulse control issues, you know, like a child. And this is what makes me so angry about men. It's like, you fucking asshole. Do you not think I too don't want to be out getting wasted and doing drugs and sleeping with everyone I meet? It's fun. It's fun to do that. It's fun to be out of control because when you're rich and when you have a baby mom who's just going to like literally clean up your messes, well, shoot, everything happens in a vacuum. But we don't do these things because family and friends are not amenable to that. Hello, we have a job to get to. We have school to get to. Like, we have things. If you don't have any of those things anchoring you, I guess you become Scott Disick. And it's so insulting that men act like this. And like, they're like, I can't help myself. It's like, really? You really think your desires and your whims are like so unique? I'm just such a special peacock. No, you're a dick. You're a lazy, weak, entitled dick. But behind every lazy, shitty man is a woman who's enabling it, whether it's their mom, whether it's their girlfriend or their wife, or maybe their girlfriend and their wife, because they usually have one of the two. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, both, not one of the two. They have both because men are, trash. So Kourtney came from this relationship where it was a parent-child dynamic, right? She was parenting Scott constantly. I mean, they were together for 10 years. And I think that's why maybe she's so into being a mom. This is something she's very comfortable with. Maybe this is the thing with the oldest child in the family. I don't know, I'm an only child. So we got our own shit. And by that, I mean, we're so like, we're overloved and we're spoiled. It's amazing. But I think Kourtney felt comfortable in that mom role, you know, in the role where like anything she says goes. And I think she likes the dynamic with Scott because therefore he's such a mess. Nothing she does will ever touch that. So if she wants to go on like a 3-day binge at Coachella, What are you gonna say about that, Scott? What are you gonna say? Nothing. So in a way, his mess gives her this elasticity that maybe she never thought she had. That gives her, ironically, by playing mom to him, she gets a get out of responsibility free card. Because when she decides to while out, it's not a girlfriend going berserk, it's mom taking a well-deserved break. And who's gonna shit on a mom for going out and having a little fun? You see what I mean? God, I'm so smart. Wow, I blow myself away. No, I'm not. No, see, it's that only child overly healthy self-esteem. So how does Eunice factor into this? We talked about one ex, because Eunice comes along and he demonstrates command, manliness, an alpha male. He is the wall that Kourtney can break against in a time of stress. That was never going to be Scott, right? Kourtney had to be the wall. And that shit's tiring. It is tiring. Have you guys ever heard the Kenny Chesney song, The Woman With You? It's so good. Sorry. But it's like, I've been like company chairman and doing this. Like, I just want to be the woman with you. And I'm like, oh, like it taps into the exhaustion of being a female and how we have to do everything. And I think with Eunice, he wanted to do everything. However, this is what I'm talking about, where you swing to the opposite side when you date someone next. Overcorrections are the most common thing I see in new relationships. Scott was wild. He was out of control. Okay, I'm going to swing crazy to the other side of this pendulum, and I'm going to date someone who's a little bit controlling. And at first, it feels like a weighted blanket. You're like, oh yeah, I can't move. I don't even care. And then you're like, all right, you reach the course correction and you reach that more middle ground where you're like, you're like Goldilocks. Too firm, too soft, just right. But a lot of us don't get to that Goldilocks point. We stay with the overcorrection to justify leaving the original partner, the Scott Disick, in our life, because we're like, I think this is what it is a lot of times. You don't think it's possible to find that Goldilocks middle ground. I'm either going to find a guy who never wants to commit, or a guy who's got like his foot on my throat all the time about where I am and who I'm with and what I'm wearing. How could I ever find a guy who's fun and outgoing and we're adventurous, but also wants to Netflix and chill and build a family? Wait, but aren't you like that? You're like that. So that does exist in human personalities, right? Because you are the proof. You are living it. I also am like that. Every single one of you watching it are probably pretty much like that. Women are much more moderated. So if we can do it, men can do it too. Because you know who women marry? Men. They marry men. And there's happy marriages out there. I mean, allegedly. No, there are. Barack and Michelle, I'm pinning every hope I have for the future to you too. But my point is, of course it's possible. Of course. Don't make excuses for the unknown. Don't act like you have statistical, empirical proof about what's possible in a relationship. And like, it's okay to date around and to get that data about the course correction that you need. That's the whole point of dating. You know, I think we've gotten so far from like, I feel like there was a very short amount of time in like female history where everyone understood that dating was about partner selection. I don't know if it was like 1958. I don't know, it was like 1650. I don't know. But there was a very short amount of time where it's like, I'm dating to see what I like. I'm dating to see what works for me. I'm gathering data. It's the root word in dating. Think of it that way. I'm sure that's not the actual etymology, but who cares? So Kourtney went wildly with Eunice. And yes, I've heard he's very controlling. Like, I think it's really significant, like how someone acts after you break up. That's when the true them comes out. It's sort of like going from The Bachelor to The Bachelor in Paradise. You just distill down all that fuckery and all that crazy and douchebaggery. And you're like, that's actually who you've been the whole time. You know, like it's all just way more concentrated. So how someone acts after you break up with them, those really are the most crucial data points. Did they take it on the chin? Are they like, you know what? I release you with love. Or do they start leaving wild ass comments on your Instagram? Ooh, that would be Eunice. He was leaving crazy things on her Instagram. oh, what was it? Like she posted a picture in a thong and he's like, you're a, I don't know if he called her a slut, but like you're a mom, cover up, like something like that. Because that is so especially offensive to me, because who the fuck are you? Shut up. She can show off her body however she wants. You don't like it, don't look. You were looking at it for a year. You didn't have a problem with it then because she belonged to you. It was a possessiveness thing. She's my little toy, and I play with her when I decide to take her off the shelf. She doesn't like go and just, this isn't Toy Story. She doesn't like come alive and go do her own thing. I give her the permission to do that. I am the audience for that. And I also think it's significant because you know that that kind of insult taps into the very like biggest insecurity she has. No woman likes to get older. None of us do. Nobody wants to be told you're too old to be doing X. I don't care if it's climbing the Eiffel Tower. Well, I guess you don't climb it. Climbing Mount Everest, posing in sexy pictures, going back to school. Don't fucking tell me what I can and can't do because I've hit a certain number on the calendar. First of all, you guys know I don't subscribe to age. And like, if I didn't know how old I was, based on how old I feel and like how old I look, I would think I was like, I don't know, 27. I had a plastic surgeon say that he's just like, well, you're like 28. I was like, can I get that notarized? Like I couldn't breathe. So thank you. And like, if you don't agree with that, I don't give a shit. I don't even know you. Like, cool, you think I look older. Okay, like maybe just move on with your life. I'm moving on with mine, you know? And so I think it was so disgusting that that's the angle he took with Kourtney. So let's talk about our own exes, because I actually think Courtney and Eunice have a shot at getting back together. Why? Time does a lot. Actually, back up. Time heals nothing. Time heals nothing. It is what you do with that time. We all see people, some of our friends, sometimes it's our parents, sometimes it's us, where we are stuck in a breakup. My friend, she won't get over it. She's having the exact same conversations on day 92 of this breakup that she did on day 1. It's just like, rrr, rrr. You have to use that growth. And timing truly is everything. So I see a lot of movement in terms of Kourtney. Eunice, I don't know. I don't know him. I think he's fine. He's whatever. But Kourtney has like really gotten into her hoe phase. She was hooking up with Lucas Sabat, that model. He negged her so hard. He sleeps with everyone. And she's like never really been rejected. Like she goes for younger dudes because she thinks she can control them. But it doesn't always work that way. You always get a rebel. You always get a stray sheep from the flock of very young, fluffy, beautiful sheep. So I think that kind of like jolted her into being like, okay, maybe I want something that's a little bit more significant. And maybe that was Luca, you know? And I think she's finally understood the course correction. She's also been in therapy, which I talk about so much. Everyone needs to go to therapy. Everyone needs to go to therapy. God, if I was a fitness influencer, I'd be like, yeah, we all need to be going to a gym. Hello? No one be like, whoa. I'm not just gonna like go to a gym to make my body better. You need to go to therapy to make your mind better. And Kourtney has, so I think she's like had a lot of awakenings. And distance and that time gives you a little bit more objectivity. The issue and the PTSD from Kim's robbery has died down. She's not so caught up in that anymore. Everyone's moving forward. And I think she's able to evaluate Eunice in a bit more neutral fashion. And yeah, like I said, timing is everything. She probably got into that relationship way too soon after calling it quits with Scott. And now that things have evened out with them, she doesn't feel like there's this fire in this other category. So if you're thinking about getting back together with an ex, look, you know my party line. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's called a breakup because it's broken. I know that. I also know that life is complicated. And I literally am so hesitant to give you this advice because, again, if I was a fitness influencer and I was like, of course you can have pizza. I know that that's a slippery slope. I know it's a slippery slope. But I trust you guys to make good, healthy choices and not just like solipsize into fear-based desires. You know, because when we're like, I have to have him back. He's a hurt locker, girl. He's a hurt locker. He's a place you stored all of your hurts, all of your ego deficiencies, the deficiencies of your sense of self. He's going to save me from something. He's going to rescue me from this. He's my emotional getaway car. That's not good. But if some time has passed between you two and you're like, I am now reevaluating you from like a 0 point place, like we're starting from scratch. And maybe the good things are still there. Maybe you've worked on your bad things, maybe not. But that is the key. Have they worked on it? The number one question I always ask an ex when they come back, because they always come back, is how is this going to be different? And not why is it going to be different? How? It's a constructive thing. This is like a didactic thing. How is our relationship going to be different this time around? And if they answer me with something like, I just really miss you, like we were so good together, you can leave. You may leave. You may leave. That isn't a plan. That isn't a plan. If you were sick, if you had cancer, right, and you got rid of it, it comes back, you go back to the doctor, you're like, what's our plan now? He's like, just, you're sick. You're like, the fuck are you talking? I know that. What is the plan though? I need a plan for a relationship. What have you learned? And not just these platitudes of, I've learned that I need to be more thoughtful. Okay, how have you manifested that in the rest of your life? Show me. I don't want someone who's only thoughtful to me because that doesn't work. That's not sustainable because that means you're just like trying to keep me. Are you more conscientious in the rest of your life? Show me. Do you volunteer? Are you spending more time with your family? Are you more thoughtful and conscientious with your own goals? Because stuff like that, it's always a domino effect. There is no relationship dynamic that is played out with you and your ex that has not also played out in every other aspect of his life, right? Like if someone is a partier and they party too much, you think that doesn't affect every single other part of who they are? If they've got a wandering eye, they have impulse control, and that manifests in a million other ways. So you have to ask them if they see this too. And look, I am not saying you sit there and play therapist. I don't have time for that, okay? And quite frankly, you want to pay me $300 an hour? Sure, I'll sit here and listen to your problems forever. But like, no, I am done offering suggestions on how men can level up because none of them offer it to me. They don't need to. I do it myself. I'm not a fucking like renovationist. This isn't like flip or flop, okay? Flip yourself or flop on out of my life. So when someone comes back, that's the angle we need to take because of course you miss them. Of course you miss them. I miss my roommates from college. It doesn't mean I should be dating them. You know, that is not the only metric. Missing someone is not the same as them being in your life. Chemistry is not compatibility. And it depends on what you're trying to build. If you truly are just trying to have like a spicy, fun, like chemistry-filled thing, good God, don't make it your ex. Go out and meet a new guy who you want to have sex with because don't lie to yourself about what you're hoping to get from the dynamic. Like it might seem easy. Like, well, I can just call him up. It's easy. It's easy for now, like eating the pizza. But once you realize the consequences, once those consequences really start to show up in your life, it's going to be too late. And unwinding the consequences is going to be very, very difficult and very, very painful. So much more so than just avoiding that booty call, avoiding that Papa John's order to begin with. So do the hard thing, which is usually the right thing. But not if it's the good guy. If it's the right guy, you guys will come back to each other each with this like dossier of evidence about what you've learned about yourself, what you learned, what you need in a relationship, what you want from the world, where you want to take your future. And it will be a collaboration. And the right thing won't be the hard thing. The right thing will be the easy thing in the nourishing way, the truly nourishing, easy way. It won't be the Papa John's. It'll be that kale salad. The one time you're like, ugh, kale. And now you're like, I feel fed. So maybe this is what's happening with Courtney and Eunice. Maybe. I don't know. Time will tell. Maybe she's just kind of between heartbeats somewhere and she needs someone to hold on to. Maybe he is too. Maybe she's going to get back together after like, maybe she's like romanticized him for this last year as like the one who got away. And when that happens, when we get back with someone, it's like bringing someone back from the dead. You know, in the Deathly Hallows, Harry Potter, where they tell the story of the Deathly Hallows and like the one brother like wanted his corpse bride like reanimated, but like she wasn't the same. I always think about exes like that. When boys come back, they're just never the same. The dynamic's not the same because you aren't the same. You've learned and you've grown. And hopefully they have too. And if things are good, you've grown like this. You've grown closer together. But maybe not. And that's what you have to sit and evaluate. So maybe that's the deal with Courtney and Eunice. Or maybe you should get together with them and be like, you were a trauma bond. You were a stress bond. And now that I evaluate you when the dust is settled and I'm in a more neutral headspace, you're just kind of all right. So if you really feel compelled to reach out to your ex or give them a second chance, go into it from that attitude. I am now neutrally evaluating this situation, right? I am now neutrally evaluating you and what you bring to my table, because I know that time heals nothing. It's what I do with that time. I've worked on myself. I've got my self-worth where it needs to be. If I was using you as an emotional getaway car, I'm turning my attention to what was actually wrong that I was running from. My career, my schoolwork, my self-esteem, my health, whatever it might be. And now I can say, well, what do you actually bring to the table? Because I know what's on my table. It's tough. And things happen. People get back together. They do. So many of my friends who are married, like they had a break at some point with their husband. And some, it was a year. Some was 2 years. My mom's best friend just remarried her first husband. And she had a husband in between. Like they were high school sweethearts. Timing is everything. And sometimes the time just isn't right, but we have to keep moving forward and not put our life on pause, assuming that we're going to get back together with someone, because we don't know. It's tough, it's tough. So keep moving forward. Keep dating other people, but most importantly, keep working on yourself, because then when that ex does come back, and they always come back, you will have the toolbox to decide in the best possible way whether or not this is the partner for you. Let me know what you think about Courtney and Eunice. Tell me what you're thinking about Courtney and Brad Pitt. Oh, do they have a chance? Can you imagine being Courtney being stepmom to Zahara and Vivian and Knox and Shiloh? I'll talk to you later, guys. Like I said, find me on Instagram at ShallonXO and listen to my podcast, Girl on Top, for new podcasts. I'm so tired. It's 6 in the morning. I'm exhausted, but I want to get this video out for you guys. I love you. I'll talk to you guys later.